Good morning. I've been reading a little bit about Platonic thought, Neoplatonist thought, a little bit about the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and I find this very interesting. The beginning was confusing, but I had help. I've listened to countless hours on metaphysics to understand what I was getting myself into. And it's starting to make sense. But still, I have difficulty, calling myself a Platonist or a Neoplatonist. I'm in it for wisdom. It keeps your mind sharp, and I'm not doing this for religious or evangelical, reason. I'm interested in the truth, and if you want to know the origin of most religions, it's this is it. This is where it all started. Bhagavad Gita, for instance, had a reformation at some point. This guy called what was his name? Well, I can't remember his name. This guy, decided to make a reformation, and he got, you know, a bunch of students, and he called his teachings the Brahmayama, the path to the absolute. And he said, I got these teachings by reading the Bhagavad Gita, because it's mentioned in the Gita, the one and only transmigrant. Later, the path to the absolute was corrupted by sectarianism, and it became, what you call today Buddha or Buddhism. But it has nothing to do with the Gita or the original text. It's just sectarian, stuff. Anyway, the Platonists are speaking the same thing. The Platonists, the Neoplatonists, are speaking the same thing about this one and only transmigrant. Who knows, maybe the Egyptians talked about this as well, because we know that most of the scholars, intellectuals of Greece, they studied in Egypt. We can't really prove it now because Alexandria, the library was burned to the ground. We just don't have proof. And but still, some manuscripts, was rescued by the sectarian wars. Most of Plato's and Aristotle's work was destroyed, and sometimes you can get puzzle pieces by what other philosophers from other areas have read and reinterpret. So so the idea of this one and only transmigrant has been around. It has nothing to do with sometimes it's confused with reincarnation. It's not reincarnation. Reincarnation implies individual the individual essences reincarnate into another person. No, there's no doctrine, ancient doctrine, that supports this. They all talk about the transmigration of the one and only. Who is this one and only? Well, we can we don't really have measurements or quantifiers or qualifiers to understand this one, because it's so immense. Some say it's a being, some say it's a non-being, some say it's consciousness, others say it's not consciousness. I mean, it's everything and anything. It's everywhere and nowhere at the same time, because everything in this world can't be used, we have at our disposal, can't be used to quantify, qualify, or name him, or etc. But it exists. It's self-evident. You're looking at it. you know so this one and only transmigrant was bored. Some say it was bored, others say he's not even aware of what's going on because he's so immense. Others say he was bored And because he's the one and so powerful, he decided to experience the many. He wanted to divide himself into the many so he could experience through the eyes of these avatars. He could experience millions and thousands of millions of different lives, different experiences, out of boredom, out of curiosity. Or maybe he lost something and is trying to retrieve it. Maybe the one is using all these experiences to attain the next level, you know. He divided himself into the many. It's like a video game, when you have a player playing these role play games. He chooses a character and he gains experience points, and the other day he plays with another character. Slightly different view of things with different, strategies and everything. And he's learning how to beat the game, but using different means. You know, it's sort of like that. So the one is seeing the world through the eyes of everybody, and he's constantly dying and being reborn. He doesn't really die. So, in ancient metaphysics, they always talked about two souls. There's the soul that has a beginning and an end in time, and then there's the one that is with the one that is immortal and transcendent, that's constantly transmigrating. I'm sorry. The one that is a beginning and an end in time, I mean, it's me and you, right? You and me walking down the street. There's a soul walking down the street. That's the soul with a small s. It encapsulates everything that you are. But this is a soul that has a beginning and an end in time. But we are talking about the other, the real one. It's experiencing this. It's just an observer. He doesn't influence, although he's in constant conflict with the flesh. Constant conflict because he doesn't like it. You know, doesn't like it or is in love with it. I don't know. Because love and hate are the same. Love and hate are sides of the same coin. So there's this friction between the real self and the small self. So I'm going to read a little bit. Rumi was a philosopher from the Middle East, I think. This carnal self is hell, and hell is a dragon. To God alone belongs the power to kill it. When the soul of the soul withdraws from the soul becomes even as the soulless body. Know this. Well, it sounds like a trick of words there. It's pretty much saying, the real soul, you know, re- uh, retracts itself from the body, and the body becomes an empty shell, right? And then he talks about hell, but you have to understand hell is not what you think. There is a hell, but for the ancient metaphysics, for instance, hell is repetition. Hell is not a burning furnace. No, hell is repetition, and hell is associated with cold, not with heat, for the most part. It's a cold place. It's not hot or burning. Hell could be excess and repetition. The number 666 is not a number, it's actually a word, ancient Greek. That's the word of excess. In Latin is excessios. That's a form of hell. One of the attributes of hell. So I'm going to continue reading. He then says, mind is a hell, speech is a hell, sight is a hell, etc. The internal conflict of reason with the carnal soul is compared to that of a man and a woman living together in one house. The voice of reason and the carnal soul, the two souls, are in constant conflict. Like I was saying, they're in constant conflict. It's like Tom and Jerry. It's like love and hate. They are sides of the same coin. They're like a husband and a wife living under the same roof. There's this constant friction. If you meet someone who doesn't have an inner battle, then you're dealing with an NPC. There's no conflict. Everything goes well with them. Tasawwuf and Vedanta are the same. The Sufi doctrine is that God is the essence of all existence, existences. God is the essence of all existences, while everything in the world, while everything in the world of contingency is separated from the absolute only by individualization. Yeah, the absolute wanted to experience individualization. That's why, it's seeing the world through the eyes of these avatars. And once an avatar perishes, passes away, the one and only transmigrant just jumps to another body. Well, if he got what he wanted, it's wisdom. People can train, like in the doctrine Buddha, to let go of what is the false self, and you will attain nirvana. You will attain the same level as the Atman or the Brahma, or you know the one and only, and you would eventually stop the reincarnation cycle, the transmigration cycle, I'm sorry. Gebhard Lestrange states very correctly that the transmigration of souls is generally misinterpreted as the passing of a soul from one person to another. What actually takes place is that the individual soul, God, incarnates again and again until it attains the aim of incarnating as a seeker who will go upon the quest and eventually lose individuality and become one with the freed God soul. Like I was trying to say, it's like a video game. He's experiencing character after character, using different strategies, and once it has what it attained, it can stop the transmigration. Notable repudiations of reincarnationist interpretation will be found in the Hieroclys of the Golden Verses by Pythagoras. You can find it in Hermes texts. You can find it in Plato. Plato seems to speak of transmigration of the human soul into other natural species. We must understand by it the different forms and habits of human life. Anyway, this is just, food for thought. This is what gave origin, to the Abrahamic faiths. The Abrahamic faiths, it's like a sectarian misinterpretation of the doctrine of the one and only transmigrant. I completely purposely misinterpret everything. There's more text, but I think I'm not going to read it. I don't think I'm going to post this one. Oh man, my ears.